Okay, starting with a new scene here. Let's let's add a simple table. So I'm going to shift A. I'm going to add a get brain into gear. Add a cube. Okay, and I want to make a table leg out of this. Now I know that this cube is 2 meters by default, which is, you know, a very tall table. 6 foot tall or something, so we don't want that. So we want to scale this down a bit. So let's scale it about a meter. So a meter is half of 2 meters. So scale S key 0.5, and now we've got this 1 meter cube. Okay, so it's going to be about 1 meter high. The legs need to be a lot thinner, so I need to scale those. So I need to scale the X and Y axis and not the Z axis. So the way I do that is S, and I press Shift Z or Shift Z. Okay, so it won't scale. The shift means it won't scale on the Z or the Z. So let's bring this in to kind of a leg dimension. I'm not being terribly accurate here. You know, it's just for demonstration. Right, so let's go into a front or a right view. It doesn't matter. I'm in right view. Let's just move this up off the grid, or you know, so it rests on the grid. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to make a simple small square table. So I've got this leg here. I want to duplicate it, so I'll press Shift D. I want to drag it on the Y axis, so I press Y key and just bring it across about there. Okay. I'm going to Shift select both of these, so I can move them both together. I'm just going to bring them back, kind of center them a little bit. It's just so it's the center of the grid again. It's just my kind of OCD, if you like. Let's go into a front view. These two are already selected. They're still selected, so I'll go into a front view, and I want to move them kind of back again, and I want to duplicate them over here. So Shift D along this time the X axis, because we turned around. Press the X key and just drag them across. So we've got this table approximately kind of 1 meter square. We need a tabletop, so let's Shift A, let's add another cube, okay, which is way too big. But anyway, let's scale it first on the Z axis, because we don't need a 2 meter deep tabletop. So SZ for Z, bring it down to more kind of tabletop size. Let's bring this up to the top of the legs. Still way too big, so we need to scale it again. On the X and Y together, so it'll be S and Shift Z or Shift Z to not scale it on the Z axis. Let's bring this in. That's more kind of table size. Yeah. Okay, so simple table. These all have to be collision, so I could add a collision object to all of these, but I just want this as one object, so I'm going to Shift select everything. And I'm going to press Ctrl J to join them all into one mesh. So now when I edit them, you can see it is all just one mesh. Right. So that's the table. We need a tablecloth. Shift A, add a mesh plane. Okay. Let's bring it up. And actually this 2 meters is probably just about the right size for this one. Okay. If our table's 1 meter across, that leaves us a meter, so half a meter either side for it to drop. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. Right, so we need to set the table as a collision surface. So we'll come across to our physics tab here, table selected, press collision. Okay, we need to set the cloth as a cloth. What are we on? I'm going to leave it on silk. Right, the cloth is above the table, but it's got no geometry. It's not going to bend, because remember the cloth will only bend along the kind of edges and vertices. If we edit this, we see it's got none. We need to add some geometry, so I'm going to press my W key for my specials menu, subdivide, open up my tool shelf here, and we've got the number of cuts. We'll increase that to the max of 10. Still not enough, so we'll have to W subdivide again. Let's increase, so that's looking about the right amount of geometry there for me. somewhere about there. Okay. That 10 by 8 has given us 9,000 vertices, 9,801 actually. Not sure what the maths on that, but anyway. But we've got plenty of geometry here for the cloth simulation to work and, you know, kind of fold along the edges and what have you. Now, at this point, normally I would do the UV unwrap for a very good reason, but I'm not going to. I'm going to do it the hard way first, just so you can see why I would do it now. So let's go back into object mode. We're all set with a collision and a cloth. Let's run the simulation. I'm just going to set my endpoint here to about let's say 75. Okay, so let's run the simulation, let it fall, and let's see what it does. Okay, it's deforming around as gravity's taking over and it's pulling it down. We've got this kind of tabletop clouds. We've got some wrinkles on top, but they will smooth out as we progress through the animation. And we'll just wait a second here, or several seconds for this to go. Let me just grab a drink while that's baking. And I know one thing we didn't do, which was the self-collision. So I'm going to stop this right now, because I just remembered it. Go back to the beginning. Let's open up the cache and clear that bake, free all bakes. And let's open up the collision and make a self-collision. And I'm actually going to increase the quality of this. I don't know how far this goes, up to 20, but I'm going to increase it to about 5 or 6. 6 will work, okay, just so we get a better quality on the self-collision. Okay, so let's bake this again. So we'll press the play, Alt-A is the shortcut, and let's just see how this is going to work out. Once again, it's falling nicely as it expected to. It's going to draw these corners in. We've got wrinkles here, but they will smooth out as the weight of the cloth and the gravity takes over. I'm not sure if you'll see that on the video, but there's certainly a diagonal wrinkle there. If it didn't, I would use a stiffer type of cloth, cotton or possibly denim. I'm using silk because it kind of seems to react the fastest on this machine, and for the purpose of this tutorial. And I say fast, you can see our frame rate is very, very low. That's because, you know, Blender is making millions of calculations about this. Okay, we're on frame 25, so we've got a couple of minutes to wait. And that's really bunching up hard there. And that is the self-collision coming into effect, I believe. Okay, it's taking way too long and I'm not happy with that. So let me just stop that, or pause it. Stop it, actually. Let's come back to the beginning. Let's clear my bakes and let's turn this quality down. 2. What the dynamic collision illustration should be done. Let's turn this one up to 2, and let's try that again. Just letting this run through. The reason I'm not liking this is because of the silk. It is way too light a material. Okay. As you know, I don't edit stuff out. I kind of show you my mistakes so you don't have to make them, or when you do, you can know how to, or see my process of fixing them. So let's change that to cotton. And let's run this once again. I love watching these cloth simulation bakes, or the animations. It's one of those things. It's kind of like watching an open fire, or you know, whatever you enjoy, watching the waves on the beach or something. I could sit here for hours and watch these animations working, and you know, calculating and working through. Just me. So waiting for this to kind of smooth itself out. We're on frame 22 now, out of the 75 or so. This table is poking through, but Blender's gonna kind of calculate that out of it and push these back out, hopefully. So I'm just gonna wait here. While this is doing this, I'm constantly looking over here, seeing if there's anything I haven't set correctly. And it's looking okay. That's the self collision. Okay, I haven't tried this before. I'm still not happy with this, so let's go back, and I'm looking at the repel distance. What happens if I increase that ever so slightly? Let's say 0.01. Okay, I'm hoping that the collision surface, it will repel that kind of 0.01 from the collision surface. So let's try that again, and I'm hoping that might sort these corners out where they were poking through. And so far so good. Yeah, that's just the cloth wrapping around the corner and back again. Make this easier. Let's add some smooth shading to this. There we go. Oh, that corner's poking through. And once again, I'm just checking everything over on the right hand side here. And let this run through. Okay, I'm still not happy with that, so time to try something else. Let's go back to the beginning. Okay, let me move this cloth down so the table just about pokes through. And what I'm going to do this time is, I know I want my tablecloth flat and these corners are kind of poking through, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a pin in the corner, each corner of this table. So let me go to my wireframe view and let me go to a top view so I can see exactly what's going on, and let me edit this cloth. Okay, let's deselect all. I think I'm going to add a pin there, shift select a pin there, shift select a pin there, and shift select a pin there. And actually I've just seen something that might be the cause of this, so let me just try something first. If that doesn't work, I'll go back to the pins. What I'm looking at is, I'm looking at the table here, and the corner of the table is in the center of a face, so this face really has to kind of work hard, and this is probably why it's starting to pull through. If I was to select all, and let me just size it slightly so this face actually falls on the corner there. Let me check this over the other side. That's the leg, that's falling okay that way. Let me deselect all. Yeah, okay, so that corner is on the corner of the bird, and so is that corner. Okay, So let me go into object mode here, let me come back into a solid view. Let me just try this once again, and I'm hoping that you know, making it so the fold is actually on the edge of the table, the edge of the table doesn't come halfway across the face, might fix this. So let's just run that simulation. Oh, look at that, because I moved the cloth down, we're getting this air trapped underneath, and now it's got to blow out. That's a lot more realistic, getting this kind of wave pattern on it. This is what I mean about watching this for hours, you know, and just playing with it like this. It's to me, it's fascinating. There you go. Just let this run through a few frames. It looks to be behaving a little bit better, just by adjusting the position of that geometry. And letting this run through. I'm still poking it through a little bit here. This might sort itself out. Okay, I think what I'm going to do here at this point is pause and let this run through its animation, and we'll see how it looks at the end. Okay, that isn't working out too well for me. You can see the corners of the tables are still sticking out. So I think I'll go back to the pinning idea. So let me go back to the first frame again. Let me go into edit mode here, and you see while I was on screen, actually let me clear all these. So go back to edit mode. The cloth is in its initial position. Let me go into a wireframe mode, and let me pick out these corner vertices. So it'll be that one. Shift select that one. Shift select that one, and shift select that one. So there's a pin on the four corners of the table. That doesn't look right. Yeah, it is. It's just the angle I was looking at it. So I've got the four corners pinned, so they should stay put, they won't move at all. Right, so I'll add a vertex group. I'll double click this to rename it pins. I'm going to assign this, deselect and select again just to make sure that it's taken, which is fine. I'm going to come across to my physics tab. I'm going to use the pinning here, and I'm going to select the pins group. Okay, so this cloth should be pinned in these four corners. Let me go back to a solid view, and let me go back to an object mode, and we'll run the simulation again. So okay, all four are pinned, and press the play button. Once again, you see the air being trapped underneath here. I just find that comical. I just love it. So this tablecloth is dropping, or drooping around the table as we would expect. We'll let it run for a few frames, but it's certainly not sticking, or it's not collapsing into the table anymore, just by using those pins. Now gravity's taking over, it's starting to pull this stuff down, which is what I would expect. A bit of wrinkling around here. We can kind of smooth that out with other objects, or it may drop out itself. Let's just run it through a few frames. We'll go up to about, I don't know, 40, 45, and see where we're at with it. We're on frame 33 at the moment. Once again, just checking all my settings as this is running. Nope, it's looking okay. Frame 40, it's kind of looking okay there. Yeah, okay, I'm going to pause this and just have a spin round, and let's have a scrub through, see, find a shape that I like. Okay, right about there, let's say, somewhere about there. Okay, spinning around, checking it. I've got a bit of a self-collision going on here. It hasn't quite calculated its way out of it yet, I think. That's not too bad. Okay, if I let it run for longer, it would do, but when it's only baking at half a frame per second, you know, baking 250 frames is going to take 500 seconds, which is, you know, 8 or 10 minutes, and we don't want to sit here that long. Okay, so let's say about there. So I'm going to apply this modifier. Okay, so what I was talking about before was about the UV unwrap. So let me just pull this up, and let me just pull across another window here and change this to a image editor, UV image editor. That's applied, so let me go into edit mode, select all, and let me unwrap. Okay, and if I unwrap here, you will see that the distortions in the cloth are coming out on the UV. So if we were to apply a texture here, you know, it's going to look distorted. Well, actually, let's do that. Let's create a new texture. Checkered. I don't want alpha, and I'm going to use the standard UV grid. Press OK. So we'll have this kind of checkered pattern. Let me pull another window down here. This one I want as a node editor. I'm going to come across to my materials tab, add a material, new. Okay, so we've got the diffuse here, and we need to add an image texture. So Shift A, add a texture, an image texture. Put that there. We'll plug that into there, and we will open up our checkered texture. Okay, let's go to object mode here, and let's go into a textured view, and you can see our texture. Although it's not looking too bad, you can see how the texture does get kind of distorted. Here it shows it quite well. Let's edit mode. Let's find some of these distorted areas. This looks like a good one. So I'm going to select these, and I'm going to use the sync button, this little button here, which will sync the selection with the 3D view. Okay, so let's unselect all of that, and let's select this area here. Let's have a look around. Where is that? Over here in this corner. Okay, you see the texture is kind of getting distorted. It's not correct. So I'm just going to step back a few steps. Control Z, Control Z. Control Z. How's that? Okay, I lost my bake. Not to worry, I went back too far. Let's go back to the beginning, which is there, and let's bake this again. No, hang on, I don't want to. It's actually good I did it that way. My mistake. Alright, so now we'll unwrap this the proper way. I was losing my train of thought there. So let's go into edit mode, let's select all. You see our UV unwrap is lost. Let's unwrap this. There we go. This is wrapped to the size of the texture as it should have been. So let's go to object mode. Let's run a quick bake on this again, a quick simulation, and I'll just let it run through for about 30 frames or so. I'm not going to be too fussy. Frame 13, 16. Once again, I'm still baking about half a frame per second. As I said, this will depend on your machine. Your machine may bake a lot quicker. Mine's getting pretty old now. I've had this machine 5 or 6 years. It is a quad core, but it's not very well spec'd. Anyway, let's just pause it there for a moment. Right. Let's scrub through, find a position we like. Yeah, that'll be pretty good again. Do we still have that image? No, we don't. So, we'll add a new image again. UV grid. Okay, we'll just leave it called Untitled. We'll come across to our Materials tab. We'll add the new material. We'll add an image to this. We've got just a default diffuse and output. So Shift A, add a texture, an image texture. We'll plug the color into the color, and we'll open up this Untitled, and there we go. This is kind of perfectly textured. Now, however, if we were making a tablecloth in Second Life or whatever, the inside of this is not going to be seen. You know, it's invisible because, as we know, a face only projects a normal in one way, and we can see this in Blender. If we come down to the shading section and we check backface culling, okay, and you see that texture disappeared, so we can see what's going to be invisible in Second Life. So we need to add a bit of a depth to this cloth and another side to this cloth. The easiest way to do that would be a solidify modifier. So come across to our modifiers. We can apply this cloth simulation now, so let's apply that so this becomes its own mesh. And let's add a solidify modifier, which is under generate down here near the bottom, solidify, and basically this just mirrors the outside to the inside. We do have more options here as you know, towards the thickness of the material. I'm sure if it goes smaller, no, 5 centimeters. So 1 centimeter seems to be the 1 meter. We don't want it 1 meter. 1 centimeter seems to be the smallest, but that's fine. So we've got this cloth. It's got its inside. We can apply this solidify modifier. So now it's all one complete mesh. Okay, but we've got an awful lot of geometry. We've now got 20,000 faces on this, which is way too much. We need to reduce that. So we can do this again with a modifier. So let's go back to object mode, because I want to see how these faces look. And most modifiers don't work when you're in an edit mode. So we can use what's called a decimate modifier. So we'll add a modifier, and we use this decimate. And decimate just reduces the geometry. Not very linearly, but it is quite effective. There are other methods, but this is one of the quick and dirty ways. So anyway, we've got the decimate modifier. Let me just pull this out so it's the name of it, decimate. Okay, and use collapse, and we've got a ratio here. Now we've also got a face count here. So if I wanted to reduce this, I'm thinking, okay, possibly about 5,000 faces, not 20,000. Would still keep my folds and what have you. I'm just going to grab this slider and slide this down, watching my faces count until I get to, you know, my target, which is about 5,000. Okay, I'm looking around. Yep, that's all looking good to me. The texture's looking reasonable. You will get some distortion by the nature of the modifier. You know, so it's kind of a balancing act to see what's looking okay for you. Okay, so 4906. it's looking quite reasonable. Okay, I can apply that modifier. Now if I go into edit mode, you'll see that it's got rid of a load of faces. It's triangulated a lot of things, but you know, the density is where you need it in the folds here, and in the larger areas the triangles are a lot bigger, you know, using less faces to create the effect. So we've gone from 20,000 to 4,609 faces, just basically in one modifier, and it's still looking reasonable. So yeah, that's a tablecloth. You can use bedding, drop cloths, you know, whatever you might need this for. Yeah, that's looking okay to me. So that is the basics of the cloth modifier. It can get a bit more involved in that, and especially when you get into making clothes and things like that, and you get to sewing springs, you know, which will bring vertices together like sewing would, things like that. But we'll cover that later. For now, this is kind of the basics. Now next week I intend on starting a class project, you know, that we're going to all do, which is going to bring a lot of these skills that we've learned over the last few weeks and bring them all together into one project, so you can see, you know, how you can you know, use these skills with each other to build up a project. And rather than just, okay, I know how to do a class, but what do I do with it? Or I know how to do a curve or a NURB surface, but how do I integrate that into the rest of my project? So next week we'll be starting a project utilising those skills and going from there.